Welcome back. We're going to continue working on this pie chart that we were building last time. And what we're going to do today is we're going to figure out how to get the image that we've created here out in a useful manner. One thing you can do with Plotly, and is built into Plotly inside this canvas that you can see is sort of interactive. If I hover over it, in the upper right, you may have noticed there's a camera. And if I click on the camera, it'll give me the image as a PNG. And so then if I go to my downloads folder, I'll have this new plot. And if I open the new plot, I have a PNG image. So this is a bitmap of the chart that we've made. But it turns out that it's going to be much more useful for us to have charts downloaded as scalable vector graphics instead of bitmaps like PNGs, because in a scalable vector graphic, we can open up that graphic and manipulate the individual components within it, changing things like what is the font or what are the color of things, or fine-tuning alignment and proximity, and all these sorts of nice design things can be done if we need to within a program to edit scalable vector graphics. So it's important for us to understand how are we going to get something saved as a scalable vector graphic. So that's going to require us to change a little bit about how Marimo works. So if you've opened up your notebook, you can just run everything right away, just to get everything up to speed. The easiest way to do that is just to hold down Shift and press Enter. That'll move you to the next cell. We don't need to go to one below this, so I'll hold Control and press Enter. That runs both cells. Everything is up to date. Now, what we would like to do is write an example of our image. And so the way you could do this is you could go figure.write image, and then what we need to supply to this method of the figure object is a name. So we'll say about bitmap pie chart.png. So we've given it an entire file name. We've given it this extension at the end, .png, and that tells Plotly that we want to have this generated as a bitmap. And if everything goes well, we'll see it appear here in our files. And so let's go ahead and try this. What you'll notice is nothing appeared here. And in addition to this chart that we got for show, we got a bunch of like angry red text. And this is giving us a message that's saying, I can't do what you asked for. We don't have to worry about in depth what's going on, because I'm just going to tell you how to fix this. What is happening is that this is a function of how Plotly works to render what they call static images, bitmaps and SVGs and things like that. So what Plotly does is it constructs an object that basically looks like an HTML figure, something you would see on the web. And then you need a way to convert that HTML figure into this static thing. And the static image, the way that conversion is done is with this program here called Kaleido that you'll see messaged in the messages for the errors multiple times. And it's telling you that that Kaleido isn't really working correctly. And the reason why is that there's a new version of Kaleido that requires a browser installed inside of your environment. All this stuff doesn't really matter, but it cannot be easily done inside of Marimo. Also, the most recent version of Plotly requires that Kaleido, which is what's included inside of Marimo. So we have to go in and we have to tell Marimo, hey, just kidding. Actually, what we need to do is use different versions of Marimo and Kaleido. So let's go ahead and do that. What we do to do that is we go to this tab here on the left. This says Manage Packages. It says Install Packages with UV. That's fine. We don't have to worry about exactly how this is working, but here is where we tell Marimo what we expect it to use. And so what we need to say is Plotly and then double equal signs 6.0.0. There's several different ways to solve this problem. This is the one we're going to use in this course, and it's the least ambiguous, we're going to use this. We're saying use Plotly version 6.0.0. I'm going to press enter. You'll see this wheel go. And what is happening behind the scenes is we're updating information about how we want this notebook to work. It's going out, it's finding the repositories for Plotly, and then it's installing the newest version of Plotly 6.0.0. Eventually this wheel will stop spinning, and that means that we've updated Plotly correctly. So we'll just wait for this and probably skip ahead in the video. All right, it's just installed. In the bottom right, you'll see that it has added this package or this library, and that you have all the dependencies added to your environment. So that's how you know that this was added correctly. We can X out of this. For me, this took, I would say, almost 30 seconds to install. All right. We don't need just Plotly. We need the version of Kaleido that works with the version of Plotly that we installed. And so we need to install Kaleido double equals again 0.2.1. And we'll do the same thing. I'm going to press enter. This will start spinning, and then we'll wait until it's finished installing, and we'll have that notification in the bottom right. Okay, it's finished. Again, I have the notification in the bottom right. This again took maybe 15-20 seconds, just so you have an idea how long it will take for you. Okay, everything is set up and ready to work. If you try to run this right now, though, it probably won't. So I'm going to go ahead and rerun this. We'll get the same error. And the reason is that we haven't actually reloaded all of these things. We loaded Plotly the first time that we ran this cell, and it won't reload it in order to save time and memory and things like this. Once it's loaded a package once, it won't reload it. And there's many different ways to force it to do that, but probably the easiest for us here is to do what's called restarting the kernel. So we're going to move over here to these triple lines, or the hamburger menu, and then go down to the bottom where it says restart kernel. It's going to say this will restart the kernel. You'll lose all data that's in memory. You'll lose any unsaved changes. So we need to make sure that things are saved. If you're not sure, you can always say cancel and then Control S to save. But the MoLab basically just automatically saves fairly frequently, so it should have been saved for you. But now, okay, we're confident. We have restart kernel, restart. What you'll see is that now if we go back and say explore variables, there's nothing loaded here yet. So we can run these cells again. I can say run. Now we have Mo and make subplots back. Now when it's loaded this make subplots, it's loaded it from the version of Plotly that we asked for. And when we ask it to build this PNG, it'll use it using the correct version of Kaleido. So now I've run this. You'll see that it takes a little bit longer. It's given me a warning because it's saying that there's going to be a problem if you use a newer version of Plotly eventually, that you're going to have to use a newer version of Kaleido. But that's why we moved backwards in our version so that this would still work. So we're going to always see this warning, unfortunately. And we're not going to worry about how to not show it. It's totally fine because we really just want to see this image. And if we go to view files, we'll see that now we have bitmappychart.png. And so there it is. We have a PNG. We can download it. If I download it, now again, if I look at my downloads folder, I have this bitmap pychart PNG. And there it is. Okay. Well, this isn't the only way that we would like to have things generated. Like I said, we'd like SVGs. And one nice thing is all we have to do is say, no, just kidding. I didn't want a bitmap as a PNG. I want an SVG. So I'll hit run. And what we'll find is now I have a new file. And that new file is right here as bitmap pychart SVG. If it didn't show up for you, you can always refresh. If I click on this, there's no preview. That's okay. We'll just download it. Another thing you can do, if it didn't work to click on here and say download, then you can also go to the file. You can use this triple dot menu and you can say download, and that will work. So now we'll see it download. So again, this may depend a little bit on the browser that you're using. And now I have bitmap pychart SVG. If I double click on this, it'll open it up for me in a browser, but there it is, an SVG of this. And we can open this up in the software that we've seen before for editing stuff. So with that, we now have the ability to download 2 static files. And then the last thing I want to show you is that you have other options as well. So I can say fig.write HTML, and you're seeing that there's a little bit of a helper that came up here. And so I'll say, yeah, that's what I want. And the file in this case will be bitmap piechart.html. We actually don't need this second component, so I'm just going to erase that. I'll run this. And again, I don't see it showing up here, so let's just go ahead and refresh. There it is, bitmap piechart HTML. And then I can say download. Now I have this bitmap piechart HTML. And if I open that, now it functions just like a website. And that's another nice thing, is that I have this interactable where I can highlight over things, and we'll later on in the course talk about how we can get the most out of this interactivity directly out of this Plotly HTML. But the nice thing is that all this data now is present within this HTML file. So if you wanted to, you can make a plot, you can send it to somebody else, they can open it up, they can explore it like we are here. And you can also go in, if you know how to read HTML files, and extract back out all the data that's being plotted right now. Okay, so that's all I have for right now. We'll go back to the Marimo notebook. In this video, we've learned how to see files in the File Explorer, and we've also learned how to make static images, and that we need to update the package system that we have, or the packages or the libraries that we're using within here in order to do that. So one thing I'll say is that this is persistent for this notebook. So I don't have to update this anymore, the packages. However, if I start a new notebook, I need to remember that I need to set the Plotly version as 6.0.0 and the Kaleido version as 0.2.1. And so I'll try to remind you of that in the future as we move to other charts. Okay, hopefully with that, everything's great, and I'll see you in the next video.